The National Urban League's annual State of Black America report is one of the most highly anticipated benchmarks and sources for thought leadership around racial equality in America. Presented this year in an all-new, all-digital format, providing a multimedia experience. The full suite of 2015 State of Black America offerings includes an ebook, web series, and website providing access to all things State of Black America. The theme of the 2015 State of Black America report, Save Our Cities, Education, Jobs, and Justice, conveys the urgency of each of these areas in our quest for full equality in America. A central feature of the State of Black America is the Equality Index, based on data gathered by IHS Global Insight. The Equality Index is a tool which measures and tracks racial equality in the U.S. according to how well African Americans and Latinos are doing compared to whites in the areas of economics, health, education, social justice, and civic engagement, illuminating both the advances and challenges facing African Americans and Latinos. So let's take a look at how it works. The 2015 Black-White Equality Index is 72.2%. If we consider this in terms of a pie, this means that rather than having a whole pie, 100%, which would mean full equality with whites, African Americans are missing about 28% of the pie. This is the 2015 Black-White National Equality Index. The largest improvements in this year's Black-White Index were in the categories of social justice and health, with only a small increase in economics. So, for the economics category, with an index of 55.8%, African Americans are missing close to half of the economics pie. The small increase in the economics index was the result of improvements in the income, poverty, and home loan denial gaps. However, the unemployment and home ownership gaps widened. The 2015 index also shows that the education and civic engagement categories slightly declined year over year. Now let's take a look at the 2015 Equality Index for Hispanic Americans. The Equality Index for Latinos stands at 77.7%, up from a 2014 index of 75.8%. This increase is due largely to improvements in all categories, except for civic engagement. The greatest gains were in social justice and health. The increase in the health index for Blacks and Latinos resulted from increased healthcare coverage for both groups since the Affordable Care Act went into effect. For the second year, the National Urban League included rankings of more than 70 of the nation's largest metropolitan areas by unemployment and income equality between whites, blacks, and Latinos in the State of Black America report. Comparison of the 2014 and 2015 Metro Unemployment Equality Index rankings reveals that there was quite a bit of shuffling at the top of the list, while many of the metros at the bottom of last year's rankings remained at the bottom of this year's rankings as well. Unlike the Black-White Unemployment Equality rankings, the Black-White Income Equality Index rankings were relatively stable between 2014 and 2015. 6 of last year's top 10 metros were again in the top 10 this year. On the other hand, the Hispanic white rankings were less stable, with only 4 of last year's top 10 appearing at the top of this year's list. These patterns represent differences in the pace of economic recovery across the country. In addition to our much anticipated national and metro equality indexes, this year, the National Urban League introduced a new State Education Equality Index in the State of Black America report, showing disparities in K-12 education and the Black-White and Hispanic-White achievement gaps in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. Notable patterns emerging from this year's data reveal that the smallest equality gaps were commonly found in states with relatively small minority populations and in cases where test scores were relatively low for each group, white, black, or Hispanic. Higher graduation rates for Black and Latino students were also found in states where these groups are a smaller share of the population. On average, larger gaps were present in states with large urban areas that are home to large minority populations that live in highly segregated neighborhoods with excessive rates of concentrated high poverty. When we overlay inequitable resourcing with the impact of poverty, teacher quality, and other risk factors, African American and Latino children consistently fare worse in reading and math proficiency. But the focus on racial inequality in no way suggests that all white students are doing well. The numbers reveal that the nation is struggling overall, and there appears to be a significant gap between all students and what is considered proficiency. Strategies and investments must be developed and implemented that close gaps between Blacks, whites, and Hispanics in opportunity and achievement, but also bring excellence and equity at scale for all students. With the persistent inequities in these numbers and discussed in the 2015 State of Black America report, there is much to be done. It's time to save our cities and demand equity and excellence in education, jobs, and justice. For more details and in-depth analysis, videos, the ebook, and how to get involved, visit www.stateofblackамerica.org. Also, join the State of Black America conversation on Twitter by using #SaveOurCities.